The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus summoned the 12 and began to send them out 2 by 2 and gave them authority over unclean spirits. He instructed them to take nothing for the journey but a walking stick. No food, no sack, no money in their belts. They were, however, to wear sandals, but not a second tunic. He said to them, "Wherever you enter a house, stay there until you leave. Whatever place does not welcome you or listen to you, leave there and shake the dust off your feet in testimony against them." So they went off and preached repentance. The 12 drove out many demons, and they anointed with oil many who were sick and cured them. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Apostele, it's a Greek word we encountered 4 weeks ago. It's in the 4th chapter of Mark's Gospel. It was a gospel in which Jesus is telling the parable about a man who scattered seed on the land, and it finally grew up and was ready for harvest. The gospel says when the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once. Wields the sickle is what the English is. The Greek says something a little differently. It says when the grain is ripe, he apostolane the sickle. Apostole, sends forth the sickle. Sends forth the sickle for the great harvest. And so this pattern will occur again today. It says Jesus summoned the 12 and began to send them out, apostolen, apostostelen, send forth. We encounter that word once again. In Matthew and Luke's Gospels, we encounter apostolos, which we translate as apostle. It means to be sent out. So the sickle was sent out, and the disciples are sent out 2 by 2. Scholars say that 12 is not an accidental number. Could have been 10, could have been 15 apostles. They say Jesus chose 12 because he's reestablishing the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes that were present at Mount Sinai when Yahweh gave them the law. By the time Jesus came, all of the tribes had been absorbed. They had disappeared except for 2, the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. The other 10 were gone. And so Jesus is establishing a new covenant, and so he chose 12 people to send out, 12 like the 12 tribes of Israel. He sends them out, apostelen, 2 by 2. It was important that people not travel alone in those days. It was very dangerous to travel. Most people stayed home, stayed in their villages. It's where their work was, it's where their family was. Why would they want to go anyplace else? But if they needed to travel, you never went by yourself because there were robbers out there waiting to steal from you and maybe even kill you. And so he sends them out 2 by 2 so that they will be safe. And it's very likely they would hook up with a caravan to go to their destination as a way to be safe from the robbers. He gave them authority over unclean spirits. In the Jewish part of the Galilee, the evil spirits are called unclean spirits. If you get over into the pagan place around the Galilee, they're called demons. Demons, but they're the same thing. Demons are unclean spirits. And so he sends the 12 apostles out, and he tells them not to take anything with you. Travel lightly. You take a walking staff. You can take sandals. That's important. And you can only take 1 tunic. Well, they had to wear something. They wouldn't go naked. So they got to take 1 tunic, but not a second one, which would have been common. And so they take no food with them, no sack, no money. The reason for that is he's putting them in a position of needing hospitality. They will need to approach people on the journey and ask for food, to ask for hospitality, for shelter, for help. He wants them to interact. Hospitality was a very big issue in the law. You were required to give hospitality to be in right relationship with Yahweh. It was that important. Your salvation depended upon you being hospitable. What that meant is that a stranger would come to your house, typically someone on a journey, and you were required to take that person in, feed them, and give them a safe place to stay until they moved on. Hospitality. Very important, very critical issue. And so he's putting them in a position of having to take advantage of hospitality, not just sit on the road and have their lunch, but they have to go ask for lunch. They have to ask for food. And when you enter a house, Jesus says, stay there until you leave. Don't wander about. And make that your home base for when you're in that town. And accept their hospitality. And if you come to a house that does not give you hospitality, leave it. Go outside and shake the dust off of your sandals. And what that means is that you are moving on. That these people did not give you hospitality, and it will be worse for them than for Sodom and Gomorrah. They remember Sodom and Gomorrah. They were both very sinful cities in the Old Testament. But one thing they did do is offered hospitality in spite of all their failings. And so it will be worse for these people who won't give his disciples hospitality than Sodom and Gomorrah. We're called to be hospitable people. We have been tucked away for about 18 months. If it wasn't for the pandemic, you think the whole culture had turned antisocial. Nobody talks to anybody, nobody visits, everybody just stays home, works from home, hardly go to the store. And if you do, you're in and out of there quickly. But we're through that, pretty much, especially for people who are fully vaccinated. So we're called to be hospitable again, to reach out, as we do today at this Mass. We almost are back to normal. As was announced before Mass, the diocese has asked us not to do communion cups. It's still a little too soon. We have children who are not vaccinated, and so we need to be somewhat cautious. So no communion cups at Mass until further notice. Also, we're asked not to invite you to give a sign of peace to people around you. In fact, we haven't done that since the beginning of the pandemic. You're allowed to hug and kiss the people that you're with, your family, but don't reach out and touch other people. We still need to be somewhat cautious and respectful and not put them at risk. There's still this variant about that we're not through with yet, so it's important that we're cautious about that. Also, we will be distributing communion only in the hand. It's important that we not be carriers of this virus, and we be sensitive to that. So, except for that, we're pretty much back to normal service pattern, and so we thank God for that. And so we're encouraged then to look at how we behave. We may have become an introvert during these 18 months. We may have become a homebody and enjoyed it, or not. But it's important for us to get out of ourselves now, go talk to people, reach out to them, help them, not hide away and be self-absorbed, but to get out of our house and go and be with people and reach out to them, not only here at church, but also just in your daily life, to sort of rethink that. Maybe we develop habits where we pretty much stay by ourselves. We don't talk to anybody. We need to change that, to go back to the way we used to be, maybe be even better, and to show that hospitality to the people that the Lord is calling us to show to all people, especially the stranger, each day.